It started with a single mysterious radio signal, encrypted and impossible to decode. But US intelligence believes it was a secret message aimed at Iranian sleeper cells, and they could already be living in your neighborhood. Hi, I'm Josh, and on today's episode of the Infographic Show, we're revealing how Iran's covert army might already be closer than you think. The mysterious signal, broadcast in Farsi, has left experts puzzled about its true purpose. Some suggest it could be an Iranian number station trying to reach operatives abroad. Others warn it might be foreign intelligence sending instructions to agents inside the country. Whatever the meaning behind it, the timing is striking. The station first came to life on February 28th, within 12 hours of the first strikes inside Iran. Its purpose? Well, that question alone has sent intelligence agencies into a panic. As the US-led war continues, Iran's desperation is growing. But how far will they go? Could they be pushed toward extreme measures, actions that leave little room for negotiation or escape? Just about every red line has been crossed by now, with the only one remaining being US boots on the ground. The killing of the Ayatollah has made it almost impossible for Iran's more moderate leaders to push for diplomacy. Tensions only escalated when Israel struck Iran's oil infrastructure. Iran's energy shortages, already bad before the war, have worsened, with recent attacks threatening deeper crises. Karg Island, the heart of Iran's oil exports, remains untouched. If the US targets it, Iran's economy would be crippled and spark public outrage. Meanwhile, US and Israeli strikes have decimated the country's missile program, cutting missile and drone attacks by over 80%. Tehran is left with limited conventional deterrence and possibly pushing it toward unconventional responses. What does this mean, though? How big is the threat? And are you living next door to an Iranian sleeper cell waiting to get activated? Iran's asymmetrical capabilities have historically consisted of what is widely known as the Axis of Resistance, made up primarily of Shia militants across Western Asia and the Middle East. It's a group of paramilitary fronts organized and subsidized largely by Iran. Through the various agents, Iran can attack enemies and act with plausible deniability. The primary players include Hezbollah, one of Iran's largest client organizations. Quickly galvanized by the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC, Hezbollah unified separate factions into a single force. A persistent thorn in Israel's side, it remains equipped with mortars and rockets largely financed by Iran. In the opening days of the Iran war, the IRGC reached out to its proxy forces, and Hezbollah is currently the only group to mount a significant response, a move that may have strained its leadership after Israel's devastating attacks in late 2024. The Islamic Resistance in Iraq, or IRI, is another key component, though its ability to coordinate at scale has been reduced by US military action. Composed of Shia militias outside Iraq's official government, the IRI has carried out rocket and drone strikes on US bases and organized violent protests targeting the Baghdad Green Zone. Hamas, once Iran's trump card alongside Hezbollah, has seen its power greatly diminished and did not respond to Iran's call to action, largely remaining dormant. The Houthis are probably Iran's most operationally successful proxy and have repeatedly attacked shipping in the Bab el-Mandeb Strait. This has impacted global trade, forcing cargo ships to avoid the Suez Canal and reroute around the Cape of Good Hope. The problem with Iran's axis of resistance is that each actor is a known threat, and thus the US, Israel, and other allies have worked to degrade their capabilities. Israel decimated Hezbollah's ability to pose a significant threat and combined that with the destruction of much of Hamas. Tensions are escalating everywhere, and there is more to uncover. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and don't miss our other videos on what's happening in the Middle East. While it's possible that the mysterious signal was aimed at these groups, it's far more likely that the signal that has Western intelligence on edge was meant for other threats. Threats which have laid low and out of much of the public sight despite being very active in the last few years. For nearly a decade, Iranian covert agents have been at work abroad. Influence agents have worked to sway public opinion in the Western world away from Israel, penetrating even into college campuses typically under the guise of Palestinian liberation organizations. However, things became significantly more kinetic starting in the 2020s. In 2021, a cell of Iranian agents was charged in the US for conspiracy to kidnap. Their target was American journalist and human rights activist Masih Alinejad. The Iranian-born activist had exposed the regime's abuses and called for a change on the world stage. The plan was to send her to Iran where she could face torture and execution. The agents were also charged with sanctions violations, bank and wire fraud, and money laundering. In 2025, European nations condemned Iran for launching a variety of intelligence and criminal operations against Americans and Europeans. Britain disrupted 20 Iranian plots to kidnap or kill British citizens or Iranians living in the UK. 3 Iranian nationals were arrested and charged in a plot to kill journalists in Britain whom the Iranian regime viewed as threats. This was part of a larger operation specifically targeting Iranian operatives, with 8 Iranian nationals detained prior to this. In Germany, Iran recruited a Danish citizen to conduct surveillance on Germany's Jewish citizens. It's believed that this was in anticipation of a terror attack targeting German Jews. This came just 5 years after Iranian-German Jamshid Sharmad was kidnapped in Dubai by Iranian agents and smuggled into Iran, where he was eventually executed in late 2024 following a sham trial. It's clear that Iran poses a significant threat and has been waging a shadow war against the West. The question is, how much more damage can it do? The truth is, Iran may be capable of far more today than it was a year ago. The evidence from this comes from a disturbing new trend in Iranian operatives overseas, a willingness to work with violent criminal organizations. The first hints of this popped up in 2011 when Iranian intelligence tried to hire a Mexican cartel hitman to murder the Saudi ambassador. The would-be hitman, however, turned out to be a DEA informant who quickly informed his handlers of the plot. Mansour Arbab-Siar was sentenced to 25 years for the plot. Now it's believed that Iran is once more turning to criminal contacts to carry out attacks abroad. A would-be Pakistani assassin was discovered and convicted of attempting to kill U.S. politicians, and it's believed that organized crime helped grease the wheels of the Iranian operation. In early 2026, Carlyle Rivera, a convicted murderer and U.S. citizen, was sentenced to 15 years in prison as part of a murder-for-hire plot on behalf of the Iranian government. Rivera's target was a journalist critical of the Iranian regime. Plots against senior U.S. politicians have also been uncovered, though none have reached an executable stage. Iran has repeatedly warned that President Donald Trump remains a target for assassination in retaliation for the 2020 killing of Iranian commander Qasem Soleimani. It's believed that drug cartels could be helping facilitate Iranian operations. Targeted by the U.S. government in Mexico and Ecuador, criminal cartels are finding themselves having a shared enemy with Iran. Given the incredible resources at both groups' disposals, the threat is significant enough for U.S. security forces to take note. But attacks may not be reserved just for journalists and political figures. It's increasingly feared that Iran might be mobilizing jihadists that it's kept in reserve until just this moment. With the war going increasingly poorly for Iran, the nation may be looking to enact revenge via international terrorism. It has the resources from its vast oil wealth, as well as the talent. Iran is the largest sponsor of terrorism in the world. Any potential terror attack by Iranian proxies in the West is unlikely to be as high profile as the September 11th attacks. Those required years of preparation, and Iran is unlikely to have been capable of keeping such a large-scale operation in its back pocket for so long without foreign intelligence learning of it. Instead, Iran is more likely to carry out a series of smaller-scale attacks meant to demoralize and terrorize the American and Israeli population. Mass casualty events involving running over pedestrians is a major fear due to the ease with which such an attack could be carried out. Bombings of civilian targets using homemade explosives is also possible. One such attack was foiled in early March 2026, just outside the home of New York Mayor Zohran Mamdani. The two perpetrators are not believed to be linked to Iran, but they were instead motivated by ISIS. One of the perpetrators claimed that he had watched ISIS propaganda online and thus was motivated to carry out his attack. The explosive devices failed to detonate, but it could have been devastating. Launched into a crowd of protesters, the devices were homemade bombs packed with nuts, bolts, and screws to act as deadly shrapnel. The NYPD were able to tackle both suspects and arrest them. The true scale of Iran's threat, however, is unknown. While it is very likely that Iran has sleeper cells across the Western world, these are likely to be small in size and not well equipped for large-scale attacks. The war in Iran has proven one thing: the US and Israel have thoroughly penetrated Iranian intelligence and government, allowing them to precisely target over 40 senior figures in the government and military in the first few days of the war. With such penetration, it's unlikely that Iran could finance and equip a large number of sophisticated sleeper cells in the US and abroad. Much more worrying is Iran's ability to funnel millions into international cartels and other criminal organizations, who are better equipped to carry out significantly more damaging campaigns against the US. Whatever prior safeguards existed are likely all gone now as the result of widespread attacks by the US. The Rubicon has been crossed, and Iran is likely preparing to do its worst. To get a deeper look at just how far Iran could go and what their next moves might be, check out Iran's World War III plan. It breaks down the strategies and risks that could reshape the global landscape. Or click on this video instead.